Hello and welcome to your Plant-Based Whole30 midway checkpoint video. My name is Ryan and I am a vegan registered dietitian here to make your Plant-Based Whole30 a little bit easier. Today we're going to be going over, of course, some more tips and tricks as well as answering some of your most popular and desired questions. So without further ado, let's get some water because we need to stay hydrated, and let's get going. Now that you're getting started, you might be wondering what to do if you're having the same ingredients over and over, or if there's a food that you just keep repeating. Maybe you're gonna have flavor burnout, getting a little bit fatigued from those foods. Here's what you can do to make those foods more enjoyable. All right, first things first, we have to talk about the seasoning. The seasoning is one of the most important parts of your food. If you've ever cooked with cast iron, you know the pan has to be seasoned. The seasoning on your food is almost as important as the seasoning on your cast iron skillet. So with seasoning, that's going to help you with flavor burnout and flavor fatigue because you're going to get something different every time, even if it's the same food. So if you have tofu, for example, and one day you flavor it with pickle juice, and the next day you do some type of coconut aminos with hot sauce. Those are two completely different flavors of tofu, and it's the same food, but it's way less likely to lead to flavor burnout than if you were doing the same type of marinade or seasoning over and over and over again. Just like you would season your meats and just like you would season your vegetables, the same thing applies for plant-based cooking. Making sure that you're seasoning your foods is really going to help change the flavors. Another way you can change the flavors is with dressing and sauces. You can sprinkle those on or drizzle those on a lot of your different meals to completely enhance and completely change the difference in your food. So you're going to get a different flavor with every sauce you use. Another good tip here is if you are preparing something, you can season those or marinate different things ahead of time. So that way you have another layer of added complexity to your meal to make it a little bit more fun and less likely for you to burn out on it or not like it. Of course, you can still burn out on it if you eat it over and over and over because it just tastes so good, but that's a little bit different than just getting bored of it and feeling like you don't have enough variety or enough options. That brings us to a really important topic, which is about proteins. So if you feel like you're eating the same thing over and over again, you might honestly be doing something silly, and that is not having a variety of proteins. You want to have a variety of proteins in your day because those different proteins are going to give you different amino acids. Especially those essential amino acids are going to come from the different plant-based sources. So what you don't want to do is have tofu for breakfast, tofu for lunch, tofu for dinner. You want to have a variety. So maybe tofu for breakfast, black beans for lunch, and then lentils for dinner. And then for those mid-morning meals or those mid-afternoon meals or snacks, you can repeat proteins. You just want to make sure you're having more than 2 different proteins in a day. There are some plant-based proteins that are going to be complete, so you would be able to get away with getting all of your essential amino acids by using just something like tofu, edamame, or tempeh, but it doesn't give you a lot of variety. It doesn't give you a lot of different micronutrients, so you want to make sure that you're still adding in those additional other sources of protein. If you're looking for additional breakfast items, maybe you're struggling to figure out what to have for breakfast, here are a handful of options that might suit your fancy. A plant-based Whole30 smoothie that leans more heavily towards vegetables and proteins than it does sweet things. Tofu scramble can be great. A chickpea scramble to add that variation or that variety can be good. A chia pudding might also be a delicious option, and that's something that you can prepare ahead of time. So if you're on the go and you don't want to spend a lot of time in the kitchen or don't have a lot of time in the kitchen, you can just prepare that and grab and go in the morning. You can also do more savory options for breakfast too. So maybe you wanted to make some lentils
and a little bit of
cinnamon
spice
to them with some sauteed vegetables. That can even be a really delicious savory breakfast option. Or something like a breakfast bowl. So maybe you have your lentils, avocado, you're going to add some veggies in there, maybe some potatoes, like a hash style. Those are all really great options to enjoy for breakfast during your plant-based Whole30. Another question that has come up quite a few times is what to do when you feel like you want to quit. And honestly, there's probably lots of instances in your life when you've wanted to quit something. We've all wanted to quit. And the best thing to think about is why you initially started this journey, or why you decided to even join the Plant-Based Whole30 in itself, to re-encourage yourself to get that inspiration back into your life, to see what is it exactly that you are looking for. What are you hoping for? What are your long-term goals? And how can this help you get there? And also remembering that doing hard things is sometimes pretty fun, and it's pretty impressive once you get all the way to your finish line or your end goal, to see how far you've come. So definitely take it day by day. Things are hard, and that's okay. Another question here that we have is, if you're looking for a non-scale victory, what types of things should you be looking for in terms of if your pants are feeling different, if your clothes are fitting different, do you have different energy levels in the day? Do you notice that your workouts are going better? Are you sleeping better? Do you feel overall like you're making healthier changes? That's a good way to decipher if you're making those healthy changes and making that progress, besides looking at the scale, because the scale really doesn't tell us a whole lot besides just a number, our gravitational pull. That's kind of all we're getting from it. And the things that we are experiencing day to day, energy level, sleep, those are things that we can measure every single day. And those are things that actually impact our well-being, whereas our weight or the number on the scale doesn't necessarily tell us all the information that we can gather by just looking at those non-scale victories. And in terms of when you'll see those changes come about, it's going to also vary person to person. And the best way to find if you're noticing any changes is you can keep a journal and just write about different things that maybe you're noticing, and you can go back and do reflection to see what's changed or maybe what's stayed the same. This question I love. It's about cooking. So if you hate doing the dishes like I do, what types of recipes should you be cooking instead? That way you can make healthy choices and not have a whole mound of dishes in your sink when you're done. And to that, I would just say planning ahead and prepping your meals. You've got one pot. Can you throw everything together? If you have one pan, a sheet pan, throw everything on your pan. They also have on, I think I saw on Amazon, there were silicone dividers you can put on your sheet pans. And that way, if you're cooking something like chickpeas and carrots and asparagus, they all have different cooking times. So you can just put each of the different segments into their little containers on the pan. And then once you feel like it's done, you just pull off the container and then leave the rest inside your oven to cook until you like the desired texture or consistency. That makes it really, really easy. Other options, batch cooking. So that way you don't have to do dishes all the time. You just do dishes one time, one big time, and that can make it less overwhelming and more fun. Now let's talk about snacking during the Plant-Based Whole30. How to snack, what types of foods to snack on, and when to choose them. Depending on your hunger levels, your satiety, that's going to indicate when you should have snacks and when you should maybe not have snacks. So if you're full and you feel like you should have a snack, it's good to assess your hunger to see, am I eating this because I'm bored? Am I actually hungry? Or just to see what's going on mentally while you're picking these snacks. The formula that I always use when picking snacks is at least 2 food groups. So you're going to have either protein plus carbohydrate, protein plus fat, carbohydrate plus fat. That's going to help you have a more satiating snack and help keep you feeling full for longer. That way you're not having a snack and then 15 minutes later you feel like you need to have another snack because it wasn't super filling. So as long as you combine at least 2 of those groups together, that can help you stay full, and it also can be more nutrient dense because you're getting more than just one food group. Some examples of this can be the classic carrots and hummus, apples and peanut butter or any nut butter. Berries and nuts are also a great option. Guts and stuffs. Maybe you're not as used to eating legumes and beans as the Whole30 recommends, and that's okay. Everyone's gut's a little bit different. And the best way to get used to eating beans and legumes if you're noticing increased gas, bloating, might just be to reduce the amount that you're starting with. You can start slow and build up the tolerance. Your gut has to get used to things. Every time that you introduce something that might be a little bit different, it's a change. So your gut has to adjust and make those adaptations. Starting slow and then building on it can help you eat more beans in the future without having any undesirable side effects. You can use canned options, and if you want to do dried from dried beans or from dried lentils, You can just cook them ahead of time. That's a great tip at the beginning of the week. If you know you're going to need them, prep them ahead of time so that they're there for you and you don't really have to spend the 45 minutes making your lentils or making your beans. Here are 3 top tips that you can continue to implement for the rest of your plant-based Whole30 to make it go a little bit more smoothly. The first is continuing to plan. I know I just talk about this in every single video, but planning really is the key, because without a plan, you're kind of just flying by the seat of your pants, and it doesn't always work. So having that plan can be really successful and can help set you up so that you feel more confident in what you're doing every week. The second tip is don't be afraid to try something new. You never know when you might come across something that you love or that's a new favorite because you've never tried it before. So trying a lot of different new foods can be super beneficial. I know when I first went plant-based, I was not really versed on any plant-based foods. I loved hamburger and potatoes, and that was kind of my staple. So becoming plant-based and eating more plant-based foods, I was able to try so many more options than I would have ever imagined. So don't be afraid to play with different flavors, play with different cuisines, and just try out new things, because you never know what you're gonna like until you try it. And tip 3 is get into a routine. Once you are at about day 15, which you might be close to right now, you're just learning new routines. You're finding new habits or habits that you're looking to break. So really honing in and getting into that new routine that you're creating can be super beneficial to help you make it to day 30. We would love to know how your plant-based Whole30 experience has been going. So feel free to drop that in the comments and put what day you're on, maybe what your favorite part is so far, and we would love to hear about it and love to see everything that you have been cooking up and things that you're loving. I know one of my favorite parts has been trying new recipes and really utilizing the Plant-Based Whole30 recipes section and trying just different things that catch my eye or things I have ingredients for. And some of my favorites have been the jackfruit and black bean tacos. Those were super tasty, and I also made stir fry with pineapple, which gives it a nice sweet flavor, but also all the benefits from pineapple as well. And I put some Abbott's Butcher in there because it's really fast, and sometimes you just don't have time to cook or feel like cooking, and that's still a great way for you to be able to eat something healthy without having to sacrifice a lot of time. If you're planning to go out to eat or doing anything outside of the home while eating, the best tip is to call the restaurant ahead of time and see the ingredients that they're using, or you can even look on their website to find the menu. And in those instances, the best thing is just to ask a lot of questions and use the resources that the restaurants have available for you to find options that may be suitable. There are also some restaurants like Chipotle that have Whole30 approved options that you can easily grab without having to do all of the heavy lifting. You can also utilize things that are quick but maybe still in the home, like Daily Harvest is a great example, but it can be a little bit easier to cook without having to do maybe all of the work. If you're looking to have something that's a little bit easier, if that's maybe the reason why you want to go out. I'm so glad that you guys had so many questions. We're always here to help out, making sure that you feel really confident and comfortable in the Plant-Based Whole30. So we hope you have an amazing next 15 days to make it all the way to 30, and we will talk to you soon.